Alright, so when you're looking to make more important, more accurate, more critical measurements, you'll look to use the calipers. And this is a great tool, one, because it's easy to use, and two, because it's quite accurate as long as you use it properly. So a couple things I want to note before we get going about how to use it. You never want to slam these closed. I know it says it's shockproof right there, and I feel like that's just an encouragement almost to abuse them. But you never want to slam them closed. It can break them. At least in older models, it can. I don't. Maybe these new shockproof ones don't. I don't know. But that's still, I would avoid that because you can. So don't abuse the tools. So first thing, I'm going to show you how to zero it. There's this little knob down here. Just loosen that, really easy. Unless somebody put it really tight. And what that does is it lets this bezel on here spin freely. So what you want to do is just make sure it's closed, and then you can let off all force on it. Don't open it after that. And then you set it to 0. A little bit of a problem here, the camera's right in my way. And then you can go ahead and tighten that. And there you go. That's all there is to zeroing it. So, let's talk a little bit about how this measures. As you open this, the dial on here spins, right? Now, each one of these tick marks on here is 1/1000th of an inch. So, for example, we're on 0 there. We move it to that 1. That is 1/1000th of an inch right there. Now, let's talk about a little bit of accuracy here. Officially, you know, it only has marks for 1/1000th. But sure, you can certainly see that it's right in between 0 and 1. So you probably could say that's about 5/10,000ths. Or you could use a pair of micrometers for something like that, if you need that kind of accuracy. So these numbers on here, well, here, let's just start with a full revolution. So a full revolution, that's 100 tick marks. 100 thousandths is 1/10 of an inch. And that's when it resets back to 0. So if you look on here, it starts at 0. And then there's a 1, 2, 3. There's 10 of those, all the way until a large 1, which is 1 inch. So that's the first number you read. Let's just set up an example here of something that we're going to measure. Let's say we're going to measure the diameter of this end mill. So you almost always want to use these guys here. Sometimes for round pieces you can use the center part here, just because it aligns the round piece a little bit better. Of course, then there's a flat in the bit, so that's giving us problems. Alright, so what you want to do is you apply just a little bit of pressure right here with your thumb. And you can read this. It goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just a little bit past the 5. So you know that it's at least 0.5. Well, this is a really bad example, actually. Let's use something else, actually. Because that was exactly a 1/2 inch. Watch, this is going to be exactly a 1/2 inch, too. No. Okay, good. This is a good example. So, in this case, we're a little bit past the 6 on here. So, that means that we are at least 0.6 inches. Alright? So now we go to this. 0.6 is in the tenths. So now we're looking to fill in the hundredths and thousandths of an inch. So if you go over here, well, let's say it was all the way. Let's say it was up here, a little bit past the 6, and right there, 0.6015 is what that would read. So if you go to that first, let's say we're right there, right on that 10. That would be 0.61. So if we go here to read this, this is 0.62. It's 2.0 because it's a little bit past that. It's about 2.65. So this is what, 5/8, roughly. It's probably supposed to be. It's probably just stuck on like a little chip or something here. You always want to make sure your part's clean when you measure it. And for something like this, actually, this is a good example. You should be using the very ends with the calipers, and there you go. You get it right on the dot, 0.625. So that's how you measure the, let's say, the outside diameter of something. But that's not all this tool can do. It's got two more features. One is right here for measuring the inside diameter of like a pipe, or really just the inside distance of something if you can't get these to fit. And then you have on this end, this is the depth gauge. So if I close this all the way, it lines up flush against there. And what you can do is you can check the depth of, well, it would be a relatively large size hole. It looks like about 1/4 inch. But you could check the depth of it using that. So let me show you how to use those two. And then that'll do it for the calipers. So let me go grab a little round piece. Alright, so we got two round pieces here. Apologize for these being a little bit awkward. You know, we got a socket here and just a nut here, but anything larger doesn't really fit on camera. So let's start with measuring this. So open these up to where they just barely fit there. You stick them right inside. Try and get a better camera angle on that. And what I like to do is just give it a little bit of a spin just to make sure you're not stuck on some sort of burr or something. And then you can go ahead and read this. So let's practice again. This is a little bit past the 4, so it's 0.4. And it's past the 3 on here, so 0.43. And then you read the rest of the digits. It looks like about 0.438, roughly. Maybe 7.5, something like that. So that's how you do that. And then, of course, the part doesn't have to be round. It could be X-shaped on the inside. So you're just trying to get the distance between two of the parallel sides. Of course, this is kind of difficult because these aren't in the same plane exactly. So you got to kind of hold it straight. Let's just measure between two points on here. So there we go. We get 0.5. And this is a 7/16. That would be because they measure between two parallel sides. But that's how you measure that. And then in terms of the depth measurement, alright, so let's say we've got this this nut on the end of this bolt, and we want to figure out how much space is still left in here. What we do is we go ahead and butt the outside of the frame up against the outside of the piece. And then you just adjust the slide until it stops. Now obviously this isn't necessarily accurate because you can't actually see in there and see where you're hitting, so you might want to take a couple measurements just to make sure. But once you got that, you can use this little locking knob up here just to hold it and tighten that down. And then you can look at your measurement here. So we're a little bit past the 9, so 0.9, we're not quite to the 1, so it's 0.9065 roughly. So that's the basic introduction of the calipers. Obviously there's a whole bunch of different ways you can use them. You have to kind of cater to exactly what you're measuring. But that's the basics. I hope that made sense.